What's going on, everybody? How you doing? In today's video, we are starting Beyond the Lighted Stage, which before I start, this was sent to me months ago, sometime last year, by Steve Burns. And I haven't seen Steve Burns in a while, since probably December. And I hope that everything is alright with that guy. I haven't seen him. Does anybody know that guy? Anyways, thanks Steve Burns. I sent him in December one of those Rush Christmas trees. You remember that? And it got sent back to me like months later. It got sent back to me like in April. So a little concerned, about that. Not to start this as a downer, but you know, a Rush fellow fan. Hello guys, part of the army. Are you guys an army? The Rush Army? Is it an army? Kiss Army? No, different. Okay. All right, Steve, if you're out there, if you hear me, say hi. Let me know you're all right. All right, so starting Beyond the Lighted Stage. I broke this up into 7 parts, around 15-minute increments each. You know how I like to do it. That's just what it is. So I'm gonna be watching the whole thing top to bottom, but you're gonna be watching 15-minute increments. If you're new here, please subscribe, check out my videos, all kinds of videos, reaction videos, bass videos, music videos. I do donation requests. You can donate, all that kind of thing. All that information is in the description below. Check it out. Thank you, guys. Beyond the Lighted Stage, 2010 documentary. In-depth look at Canadian hard rock band Rush. Band's history and musical evolution. Okay, nominated for Best Long-Form Music Video, lost to When You're Strange, a documentary about the Doors. It's because they didn't do enough drugs. And they weren't an LA band. So anyways, okay. It doesn't really look like there's not really any other information on this. Let's just get to it, I think. All right, part 1, Beyond the Lighted Stage. Let's do this, bam.
Living on a lighted stage, approaches the unreal. For those who think and feel, in touch with some reality beyond the gilded cage.
Just warm me up.
Please welcome from Canada.
Oh yeah, there's Spanish in this, by the way. Subtitles.
If you got a band together growing up, you didn't think about writing your own music. You learned other songs, and you kind of identified yourself by this kind of music you'd play. And all the best players, I quickly learned, the language was Rush.
first time I heard Rush, I was like, oh my God. I had no idea this band was this incredible. I became obsessed. They were my gods.
I listened to it and I thought, wow, that is amazing playing. My mind was just totally blown.
I bought every magazine, I had every record, I cut out every picture, and I would go to sleep at night with Rush on the heads, wake up and it was still playing. Like, I did that.
I, Sebastian Bach, was member number 3 of the Rush Backstage Club of Toronto, mother trucker.
Rush is just one of those bands that has a deep reservoir of rocket sauce. A lot of bands, they've only got so much in the bottle. They use it up sometimes in one song. These guys were the real deal. Their bottle was so big and so filled to the brim. They were shaking it literally for decades. And still there was sauce coming out.
What makes Rush unique is fearlessness. It's the quality of starting to write a song and not caring about what's popular, what's not. There's only one band that sounds like that. What kind of band is Rush? It's Rush.
I believe when people step back and actually really look at who the great bands were, they are one of those bands. But somehow they were never popular enough that they get commonly name-checked as one of the great bands of all time.
Yeah.
A lot of the other stuff has been over-explained. Zeppelin has been over-explained. The Beatles have been over-explained.
Totally.
It doesn't tell the whole story. And you could say, why was this band marginalized? What was it? It doesn't matter. At some point, they're there. And somebody has to explain why they're there.
We should start at the beginning, talk about your upbringing, where you were born and what your childhood was like.
Okay, how do I start? Like my beginnings. I was born in Willowdale, Ontario. I was a nebbishy, quiet kid. My parents were both Holocaust survivors and immigrated here after the war. They basically arrived with $10 in their pocket, and they worked their way up to a lower middle class kind of income and raised me in the suburbs. When we first moved in, we were one of the few Jewish families to live in our neighborhood, and we were constantly living in terror of being beat up because of that fact. So it was an exciting time. When I was 12, my father passed away, and I had to go to synagogue in the morning and in the evening every day for 11 months in one day. I was not really allowed to listen to music. So that whole year was devoid of what all the other kids were just starting to get turned on to.
After the year, he really came out, and he was himself. I said to Ged, Mom wants to buy you a nice present. You were such a good, hard-working kid. He says, Mom, he says, next door, Terry has a guitar. As we drove into the drive, I says, here's $50. Go to Terry, get your guitar.
And then Alex entered my life in junior high school. We liked the same kind of bands, but I think we bonded more over our goofiness than over music.
Okay, thanks. My earliest memory of you was your paisley shirt. A purple paisley shirt.
Yeah, it was purple.
Yeah.
Burgundy corduroys.
I was born in Fernie in British Columbia. My parents came over after the war from Yugoslavia. We moved to Toronto, and I would say it was a very normal upbringing. My father usually had 2 or 3 jobs at any given time, and he believed that if you wanted something, you went out and you worked for it, period.
This is when Alex was, youngster. And this is when he was a Navy League cadet. He was such a cutie. One day he came and he said, Mom, Dad, if I bring you a good report card, will you buy me a guitar? And, you know, he brought a very good report card, and we promised, and we didn't even have money. We just borrowed the money and bought him guitar.
I would come home after school and play until dinner, and then supposed to do my homework and just played guitar all the time. I couldn't stop playing.
This wasn't here.
No. None of these houses. It's just the school and a field.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's Fisherville there.
I remember my homeroom class was the third window from the end.
Alex was always a teacher's pet at school. He always smiled up to the teachers, and, you know, he was a real schmoozer. We were in the same homeroom. Did we used to take all our classes together?
In grade 9 we did.
And one year we wrote each other's tests. We were almost finished the test, and we said at the end, you sign my name, I'll sign yours. Okay. We were bad.
Oh, yeah, I do remember.
That's how bad we were.
Yeah.
We upset the teacher.
We were very similar. We both felt like we were really outside the rest of our class, the rest of our school, the rest of everything. And then we discovered this manic love for music that we both had. We got this gig early in September of 1968 in this church basement. John Rutzu was a neighbor that played drums. And I asked Ged if he would sit in, because he knew these same songs that we all knew.
So I said, sure. I came down, and we were playing this drop-in center in Willowdale called the Coffin. That was the Coffin there. We used to come in here and used to go downstairs.
We had maybe 35 people there. And we got paid $10 to do the show for the whole band, not each, $10. And we went to Panzer's Deli afterwards, and the three of us sat in a booth planning our takeover of the world.
When I started hanging around with Alex and John, we would come downtown, and there was a coffee shop in Yorkville called the Upper Crust. A lot of the musicians would hang out there. There was another band that we really idolized at the time called the Poppers. You could see the guys from that band hanging around, so of course we would go in there and order a cup of tea like they were and try to be cool, and, you know, we were just these little suburban hippies. Always playing with your hair, you know, trying to look like you fit in.
I was living on Yorkville Avenue, and I had met the guys at a concert in the church hall. Even though they were 16-year-old kids, they were incredibly good players. You know, I was a fan immediately. They were playing the kind of music that I liked.
Ray said, you guys need a manager, and what did we know? And we said, yeah, sure. Get us up to $12 from $10. And Ray started booking dances and putting up posters on telephone poles, and we started to grow.
So in Ontario at the time, with the drinking age that high, the high schools took it upon themselves to create entertainment for teenagers. So there was a real circuit to do.
That's really what bands did back then. You played at a school dance, and hopefully you had a repertoire that covered lots of the current popular music, but that wasn't really our thing.
I had a woman not too long ago. That woman left my feelings show. Woman, I do all I go. All I wanted was to treat her good. Didn't understand her, no matter how I tried. She walked away, my heart grew cold.
We played a lot of Sadie Hawkins dances. We played a lot of dances where people couldn't dance very well because we weren't really a dance band. Everyone would be staying at the back of the hall. They wouldn't even be coming near us like we were contagious or something. We probably bummed out a lot of people on their high school memories.
I was trying to do this full-time and stay alive, and the three of them were still in high school. They were pretty much a part-time band playing high schools on weekends, and they were practicing at Getty and Alex's house.
We were rehearsing in my basement and playing with these guys. They weren't Jewish guys. We were really loud, and it didn't sound anything like music to my family. They just thought I was nuts. They thought I was probably a drug-taking freak. So they were scared. They were freaked out. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to handle it.
And by that point, it was just his mom.
The whole neighborhood was just bumping because the music was so loud and everything was vibrating. I really didn't like it. It wasn't my kind of music, you know. Perry Como was my kind of music. Alex's mom and I used to talk always on the front, cry at each other's shoulder.
It was hard because he wanted to just play and practice, and he couldn't study. He would go to sleep late, couldn't get up. And that's why he said, I'm quitting grade 12. And we were very upset.
Like, I don't want to make a bunch of money. Like, if I make a lot of money, that's great. But I'm not gonna go to university and get a big degree. Hang on, no, I don't. I don't want to drive around in a big car and get people to go, hey, there goes Alex. He's loaded with money, and wow, he's really set himself up great. But I don't see why I have to go through all the bullshit of high school to learn music.
It's not that we're forcing Alex to go to university right now or anything. We're just asking a little favor of him just to finish grade 12. And then he's on his own. We wanted for him to be something, you know, to have education. I was a little bit worried about his future. If he doesn't finish high school, what's going to happen? And if the group doesn't succeed, you know? It was tough, you know? It was tough to go through that.
You know, the thing is, my parents were right. I thought I knew everything.
I have said to you, Alex,
he's watching it.
You know, they came from Yugoslavia. People were getting killed everywhere. My dad was in prison camps. You know, they came to Canada, and their kids are everything. That was, I'm sure, a great disappointment to them, that I wasn't going to do something that was more professional.
The whole idea of leaving school was a stressful decision, but you know, at that age, I was just wanting to be a kid. And there was so much heaviness in my family's life. Being Holocaust survivors, losing your dad at 12. I kind of wanted to run away from that a little bit. So my mother was the equivalent of joining the circus, really. She didn't see any music in what we were doing. This was just madness. And she didn't really get it until she one day, years later, saw me on television. And then it kind of, oh, he's an entertainer, you know. Now I understand what he's doing.
All right, there's part one. Cool. All right. Yeah, I mean, you know, you people are older, you get it. You get all this stuff, right? It makes sense. Makes sense. Of course, they would be concerned. And I remember watching that clip of Alex being young with his parents. Did they actually not finish high school? I don't remember that fact. Is that accurate? Did they not finish high school? Damn, they should have at least finished high school. I mean, it doesn't matter at this point, it doesn't matter. But I would probably agree with that. Like, yo, at least finish high school. Please just finish high school. You know, like if you can go back to college whenever or not go to some technical or whatever, but at least finish high school, you know. Anyways, you know, obviously it doesn't matter for these guys because this is a success documentary. So you wouldn't have heard about this if it were any other way. Cool? Yeah, I mean, that whole, you're a little high school band and you have a manager all of a sudden like that, that's booking gigs for you and you're getting paid like that. That's not, I mean, that's kind of interesting. That's not, times were different. And the music business specifically was different. It's just not, things aren't really like that. You know, if you're like some young person who's trying to do music now, you know, they have like talent developers in like LA that like, where I've played for some of them where it's like some super young artist, kind of no different than like, there was like the Mickey Mouse Club kids and like the Nickelodeon kids, you know, whether you got, you know, Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, or Miley Cyrus, all that kind of thing. And there's also other people, I'm not going to start name dropping, but like different people that were like producers that would produce specifically young kids who maybe have parents that see that their kid wants to do this and they're trying to push, you know, like, okay, my kid wants to do this. We have the means. Let's make it happen. Let's try and give them every opportunity. No different than like Taylor Swift, right? Things like that. There are these people that make money off of those kids and just try and push them to, I'm not saying that as a negative. I'm just saying, you know, and get them to try and produce them as artists, right? As young artists. Anyways, maybe teach them some things, show them how things work, you know, business-wise, whatever. Anyways, but this kind of thing, this is not, you know, rock bands, you know. So Cool. All right. This is cool so far. And they did a very quick glimpse of like all the lineup of music celeb people that are going to be talking. I mean, that was like a very quick whole thing, but yeah. Cool. All right. On the lookout for part 2 coming at you next. Catch you then.